بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ولي الصالحين ورب الطيبين وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله سيد ولد آدم أجمعين صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين وبعد. Okay, so this is our second lesson of our Arabic series of lectures with Allah Ta'ala, and Alhamdulillah we have chosen the book or the Medina book 1 as our i'timad, our alliance, our muqarrar, our curriculum or reference book. And before we begin the Medina book, we began last week talking about speech. What is speech? What is considered speech amongst the grammarians? And we gave the definition last week. And then we also mentioned the types of speech. The speech can be split into 3 types. Asma, nouns, af'al, verbs, and huruf, particles. And we gave examples of each one last week. So for example, an example of an asma or an ism, a noun, is an adjective. An adjective. So for example, kitabun kabirun. Kabirun, big, being an adjective. So that's a noun. Also, for example, and obviously verbs have different tenses. So you have the past tense verb, for example, dhahaba, he went. And the present tense, yadhabu, he goes. And then you have the imperative verb, which is, for example, go, idhab. You can, in Arabic, you can make any present tense verb into the future tense by adding a sin, for example, sa'adhabu. But all these details will come later on in more detail in book 2. But book 1, Medina book 1, the tarkeez, the focus is on nouns, asma, and huruf, particles. And there are around 5 or so verbs in the whole of book 1. In the whole of book 1, you only come across 5 or so verbs in the whole book. But every now and then, when we go through a noun, we'll give you the root. Because also in our first lesson, we gave you a sheet showing you a personal dictionary, where you can make your personal dictionary. And within that personal dictionary, that table, there was a column for the root. There's a column for the root. So for example, I gave you an example of baytun, house, which is from the first nouns that you will learn in this book. The root of it is bata yabitu, to stay overnight, to stay somewhere overnight. So there you are learning other verbs as we go. So as we go on, I'll give you some the roots of certain nouns that we are covering. So that was basically the introduction last week, and we gave you some also from the statements of Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymeen, where he said that from the first times grammar was mentioned by someone called Abu al-Aswad al-Dhu'ali, where he entered upon his daughter. She was lying down, admiring the stars, and she made a comment about the stars. But that comment that she made, she said something, but due to the grammatical error, it meant something else. So her father, he corrected her. So that was from some of the scholars say that's the first time where grammar was taught or came about. And we mentioned some statements of the Salaf of the importance of learning the Arabic language. And for example, one of them, and we'll end with this one and begin our today's lesson, is the statement of Shu'bah, Imām Shu'bah. He said, learn Arabic, for it increases the intelligence. Learn Arabic, for it increases the intelligence. And that can be found in the book Tahdhib at-Tahdhib. The book Tahdhib Al-Tahdhib, and I think that is the authorship, if I'm right, of Imām al-Dhahabi or Al-Hafidh Ibn Hajar, one of the two. Because we have Taqrib al-Tahdhib, we have Tahdhib al-Tahdhib, and then we have Ikmal, we have Al-Ikmal, and we have Ikmal Tahdhib al-Tahdhib. There's a lot of, in the series of Tahdhib. Na'am. Okay, so let's move on to what we wanted to talk about today. Now, in front of you, you have many sheets that have been given to you. And inshallah, those who are listening online, then we'll begin with our first sheet. And we'll begin with the sheet which says, a noun can be categorized according to its article. A noun can be categorized according to its article. Now, the whole purpose of the sheets that I've given you today is that before we even look at page 1, actually furthermore, if everyone was to turn to page 1, and I just want you to look at it, page 1, which is Ad-Dars al-Awwal, in some of the books that you have, which is the blue Arabic course book, Medina book, you will see it as page 5. But the first page, where it says Ad-Dars al-Awwal, and it says Hada, you have pictures here of a house, masjid, door, and so on and so forth. All I want you to do is take a look at that page. Take a look at that page, just take a look at the words there, analyze it for a little while. Just for 10 seconds. And then we'll do the same thing at the end of the lesson. And you will see how Allah gives basira to a person via knowledge. How Allah gives sight to a person when he was first in a state of ignorance, and then he is given knowledge. So take a look at that page. And then we're going to take a look at the end of the lesson, and you're going to see how knowledge changes your view, changes the way you look at this page. Okay, so that is page 1. We'll come back to that at the end of the lesson. Now, some people might find this an unorthodox method of teaching book 1, but we've been doing this for 10 years, and alhamdulillah, it's been fruitful for those who've been learning, especially when we was doing this in Masjid Sunnah in Cranford, in West London. Okay, so the first worksheet that we've given you is a noun. An ism, it can be categorized according to its article. First of all, what is an article, and how do we use an article in English before we go into the Arabic? An article in English, is used in different situations. It's used to specify and define something, to make something known. And this is normally done after a noun has been mentioned before indefinitely. Let me explain that. In the sentence in English, if I was to say, a boy sat in the classroom, for example. As you can see here in English, we started that noun, the boy, or a boy, we started it indefinitely, without the definite article. A boy, because this noun has been mentioned for the first time. A boy sat in the classroom. But now that we've mentioned it once, when we mention the boy again, we will mention it with the definite article, because now this boy is known to us. It's a boy who is sitting in the classroom. So the next time we talk about this boy, we will say, the boy, and let me just bring, I know that I've moved away from the mixer, so let me just bring this forward. So as I was saying, a boy sat in the classroom. We've mentioned the boy once, the first time. The first time we mention this noun, it's indefinite. Now that we mention it again, the boy is tall. It will not be correct for us to say in English, a boy sat in the classroom. A boy is tall. Why? Because now that the fact that in the first sentence we mention the boy, he is now known to us. So we have to use the definite article, the. And this shows that the boy has been defined, has been mentioned previously. In Arabic, we can do the same thing. But just to conclude the English, so to show that something is definite in English, we use the. And then to show that it is indefinite, yeah, or unknown, for example, we use the article a before nouns and an before vowels. A-E-I-O-U. Naam? So an elephant and not a elephant, for example, yeah? So a and an is used to show that something is indefinite, not being defined, not being mentioned previously. There are other times when the definite article is used in English. For example, before the superlative. There are different times, there's like 6-7 categories. But I'm not here to teach you English, we're here to focus on اللغة العربية. So, how do we show the difference between an indefinite noun and a definite noun in Arabic? First of all, let's look at the terminology. The way we say definite in Arabic is ma'rifatun. Ma'rifatun, you have that in your sheets. We have a noun, can be categorized into two when we're looking at it, an article, according to an article. Number one, it can be ma'rifatun, definite, specific, known, whatever you want to call it, definite. Ma'rifatun. Na'am. Or it could be nakiratun. It could be nakiratun, indefinite. Yeah? The equivalent to a boy, for example, an elephant. Yeah? And in opposition to the boy. Yeah? So, ma'rifatun, nakiratun. There are two definitions there, yeah? So, an ism can be ma'rifatun, definite, nakiratun, indefinite. Let's look at an example of ma'rifah. So, how can we tell? What are the signs in al-lughat al-arabiyyah, in the Arabic language, of a noun being ma'rifah? A ma'rifah noun, or an ism which is ma'rifah, a noun which is definite. There are two signs of it being ma'rifatun. Number one, and you have that on your sheets, is the presence of al. The presence of the alif and the lam at the beginning of the noun. Or we can say, you will see an al prefix to the noun. Prefix to the noun. So for example, if we look at baytun, which is a noun, which is the first noun in the book, in book 1, baytun, is this ma'rifatun or nakiratun? According to the first sign, number one is there should be a presence of al. So do we see in baytun, do we see an al prefix? No, we don't. So straight away we know that this noun, baytun, is not ma'rifatun. It's not ma'rifatun. Why? Because an ism, a noun which is definite, or ma'rifah, there you will see prefix to it an al, or an alif lam. That's number one. Number two, there is no tanween. So I'm not going to assume that no one knows what tanween is. So tanween, barakallahu feekum, a tanween is what they say they call it nunation in grammar. What does that mean? Nunation. But let's make it really simplified. It's a double vowel. It's a double vowel. And there are 3 types of double vowels in Arabic. There is the dhammatani. There is the dhammatani, which literally means 2 dhammas. And what's a dhamma? It's that wow looking vowel sign. Yeah? And it's always above the letter. Always above the letter. So dhammatani means two dhammas. Yeah, two dhammas. Which makes the sound. Which makes the sounds. So dhammatani, as in baytun. Yeah? So that's the first type of tanween. Yeah? Then we have the second type of tanween, which is the fatha tani. I know many of you have maybe have heard it as fathatain dhammatain. We'll come to that inshallah. You can say that, but that's another grammatical rule that we don't want to go through at the moment. So fathatani means two fathas, or two fathatuns, yeah? And that is the two lines above a letter. The two lines above a letter which makes a sound. Sound. Okay? We're going to come to this inshallah. So for example, baytan. Yes?
Dhammatan or dhammatana or dhammatani?
Yep. Dhammatani. And then we have fathatani. Asad. Na'am. And the last type of tanween on double vowel is kasratani. Oh, a bit wet now. Dry tissue. Yeah, kasratani. And that's two kasras. Kasratani, two kasras. And that's two lines which you see beneath a letter. And it has the sound, as in baytin. So the noun bayt can be pronounced differently according to the double vowel at the end, the tanween at the end. It could be baytun, baytan, baytin. Yeah? Now, these double vowels, they are tanween. They are called tanween. So let's go back to the reason why we mentioned tanween. We mentioned tanween because a ma'rifa, noun or ism, an ism which is definite, does not have tanween. Does not have a double vowel at the end. What do I mean by the end? In the last letter, on the last letter of the noun. Because, and this is very important, you will never, ever see a tanween in the middle of a word, on the second letter, on the first letter. Tanween is only found on the on the end of a word, at the end of a word, of a noun, at the end of a noun, for example. Okay? So, the signs of a noun, therefore, being ma'rifa, definite, is that you see the presence of an alif lam or al, and that the fact that you do not see a tanween present at the end. So, for example, the word bayt, if I want to make that ma'rifa, at the end, at the bottom of your page, you see al-baytu, the house. Al-baytu, the house. And remember, you will never, also another thing you must understand, you will never ever find a noun with an alif lam prefix, an al prefix to the beginning, and tanween at the end. You will never find something like al-baytun, ever. A noun can never be definite and indefinite at the same time. It cannot be, you can't say the a house in English, nor can you say al-baytun in Arabic. Now, so al-baytu or baytun. Not both of them together. Not the al and the tanween together, ever. It's just like a battle. Yeah? What they're going to fight until one of them is not there. Until one of them loses and has to go. Yeah? So, sometimes the al wins in the battle, and that means al will be al-baytu, and sometimes you will see the tanween win, and there will be no al-baytun. Therefore we go to the nakira noun. The noun which is indefinite. Nakiratun. A noun which is nakiratun. And the noun which is nakiratun also has two signs. And these are opposites. Yeah? So, number one, the presence of tanween in a indefinite noun, you will see that the tanween, that double vowel, which we mentioned, dhammatani, or a fathatan, or a kasratan, you will see that present at the end of the noun. Number two, you will not see the al prefix to the beginning. You will not see the al prefix to the beginning. Therefore, baytun, which you see at the end, at the bottom of your page, baytun means a house. How do we know it means a house, or how do we know that it's indefinite? Number one, there is a presence of a tanween, baytun. Number two, there is no al or alif lam at the beginning. So, baytun means a house. So, the first category, or a way you can categorize a noun, you can categorize it according to article, whether it's definite or indefinite. The house, a house. Al-baytu, baytun. Now, that's the first categorization of a noun. Now, I'm not expecting everyone to memorize this on the first day. But I'm trying to give you some khalfiyah, some background knowledge just before we go into the book. It gives a person that positivity, optimism, that as they go and these terminologies come in the lessons, then they are more optimistic. They have that knowledge in the back that I understand what's going on because I've come across this before. And inshallah, this will aid a person to persevere, carry on, gives them that positive vibe to continue, persevere in learning the Arabic language. Rather than every time something comes up, they don't understand it, they haven't seen it, they have come across it before, they find it difficult. Okay, let's go to our next categorization. And we'll move on to, a noun can be categorized according to its gender. According to its gender. An ism, a noun, can be categorized into two categories according to gender. And we know in the English language, gender, nouns don't have genders. But in Arabic, it does. In Arabic, it does. So, for example, on your sheet, we have a noun can be mudhakkar. It can be mudhakkarun, masculine, or mu'annathun, feminine. Mudhakkarun, masculine, be careful. Mudhakkarun, a fatha on the calf, yeah? Mudhakkarun, masculine, or mu'annathun, again, fatha on the noon. Mu'annathun, feminine. Okay? So an ism can be mudhakkar, masculine, mu'annath, feminine. Okay, is there a way that we can identify whether a noun is mudhakkar, masculine, or mu'annath, feminine? Naam, there is. Today I'm just going to give you a general qaaidah, a general principle, because there are going to be some exemptions to the principle as we go on. If I teach you everything with the exemptions, then that's going to be too much. And again, a person might become flustered and be, put off carrying on learning. So we're just going to give you a general principle. And that general principle is a noun which is mudhakkar, a noun which is masculine, it does not end with a ta marbuta. A ta which is marbut. What does that mean? Ta marbuta. Okay, as we are beginners to the learning of the Arabic language, then there are two types of ta in the Arabic language. Two types of ta, not ta. Ta, with an open mouth. There is the ta which is maftuha, an open ta. That ta which is nice and flat, which looks like a boat. Huh? That ta which is open, flat, which looks like a boat. Like in baytun. Like in the word baytun. That ta. That's a ta maftuha. It's open. But if I grab each side of the boat, of the ta, and I start to pull it together and put a tie there, and put the 2 dots on top of it, and make it round it, so I start to bend that boat, make it into a circle, and then tie the top, it is now marbuta, tied. Arabic word for tied, marbuta. A ta marbuta. A ta, a round ta. Or a ta which is being tied at the top. No? So there are 2 types of ta. Ta maftuha, ta marbuta. Now, if you see a noun, and this is generally speaking, if you see a noun which does not end with a ta marbuta, then that noun is, generally speaking, mudhakkar. That noun is mudhakkarun, masculine. As in the example below, baytun, a house. As you can see, I've crossed out there being a ta marbuta. Meaning, this word bayt, this ism, bayt, it does not have a ta marbuta. Therefore, generally speaking, according to the general principle, Qaaidah, then it's mudhakkar, it's masculine. Fahimtum ikhwan? Yeah? Okay. Let's go on to the second type, and that is the second gender, and that is mu'annath. Now, سؤال, question.
كيف تكتب مربوطة؟
Marbuta is spelt like this. So mim, ra, ba, waw, ta, ta marbuta. Marbuta. Mim, ra, ba, waw, ta, ta marbuta. Marbuta. Okay? As you can see that these words, maftuhatun, marbutatun, ends with ta marbuta, that's because the letters in Arabic are feminine. In Arabic, this one here.
No,
Okay.
Oops.
Maftuha. Ahsant. Maftuha. Okay. So yeah, the letters in Arabic, just put this on the side, barakallahu feek, on the sheets, if you wish, that letters in Arabic, the letters are feminine. Each letter in Arabic is feminine. Okay? Each letter in the Arabic language is feminine. So the harfu alif is feminine in Arabic. Okay? Ba is feminine.
So it's definitely that every letter that is with Tamar Buddha is feminine.
Okay, we're going to come to that now, inshallah. Okay,
It's
but I'm just saying.
It's just a rule. It's not just
General rule. This is general rule. For example, I'll mention that in a second. No problem, Akhil. Ask questions whenever you want. Barakallahu feek. So, now, so if we look at the second gender, and that is mu'annath. If we look at mu'annath, feminine, then the general rule is that if the ism, the noun, ends with a ta marbuta, then it is feminine. The general principle. For example, sayyaratun, a car. As you can see, this word sayyaratun, which is on your sheets, it has a ta marbuta. Therefore, it is feminine according to our general principle. Now, the brother asked a question, even though it's 2-3 lessons before it should be asked, but no problem. We're not afraid of answering questions when it's according to the topic we're doing. So the brother said, and he asks, that means every word which ends with the ta marbuta is feminine? No, not necessarily. For example, I am Abu Talha. Talha ending with a ta marbuta. But Talha is a male name. So for example, male names which end with ta marbuta, they're masculine. They're masculine. So that's an exemption to the Qaaidah, for example. That's an exemption to the principle. Yeah? Talha too. Muawiyah. Yeah? Usama. These are all male names ending with ta marbuta. But that's an exemption That's one of them. But so generally speaking, majority of words that end with ta marbuta, they are feminine. And we are just looking at general principles here. Yeah? Some general knowledge, background knowledge that you should have before getting into the book, which will aid you and help you. Okay? So, that's second. So a noun can be also categorized in accordance to gender. It could be mudhakkar, masculine, or it could be mu'annath, feminine. Yeah? An example, a name. Mudhakkar noun, a masculine noun, generally does not end with a ta marbuta, like a baytun. And a mu'annath noun, a feminine noun, general principle is that it ends, the sign of it being mu'annath, the sign of it being feminine, it ends with a ta marbuta, a round ta, like sayyaratun. Now, so that's another way a noun can be categorized. Moving on to the next category that I've given you, a next sheet. A noun can also be categorized into aqil and ghayr aqil. Yes. A noun can be looked at in accordance to animacy. Maybe that's the first time you've come across this word, animacy. Huh? It's in relation to a word being animate and inanimate. Now, we'll talk about that today. So a noun in English can be animate or inanimate. In English, animate nouns are people and even animals, and also animals. Those, they say that people and animals, they are what they call aqil. They have complete intellect. They give that sense of complete intellect to them. Everything other than animals and mankind, then that's inanimate. When we talk about angels, we're talking from an English perspective. They don't really go into angels and the spirits and what have you. We're going according to the grammarians of English. So they'll say mankind and animals, they are animate nouns, yeah? And nouns that have intellect, complete intellect. And other than those two categories is inanimate. So for example, a pen is inanimate, a table is inanimate, a cat is animate, according to the English language. Whereas in the Arabic language, we have some differences. So let's look at these differences. So an ism can be categorized according to animacy. It could be aqil, animate. And in the Arabic, the grammarians, the Arab grammarians, they say they are three categories. Mankind, al-insan. Angels, al-malaika. And the jinn, the spirits. These are the categories of animate nouns. They are considered animate nouns. And they are considered those with complete intellect. And for this reason, they are mukallafun. They are those who have to abide by the Sharia. Yeah? The deen of Islam, the message of Islam, the Quran came to mankind and also came to the spirits. Now, the angels have been ordered to do certain commandments. They do certain things which Allah has ordered them with. They are mukallafun. They have been ordered with commandments from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, so these are the three categories. Everything other than those three categories are inanimate in Arabic. Now, including animals. Okay? So, for example, an example of an animate noun in Arabic is tabibun, a doctor. Yeah, tabibun, which will be coming soon in your book. That's why we place tabibun there. Tabibun, a doctor. A doctor is aqil, an ism which is aqil, an aqil noun. How do we know that? Because he falls into the category of mankind. Now, tabib. Now, you might ask, why are we learning aqil and ghayru aqil? This will become, the benefits of this will become manifest as we go on, inshallah. And when they do come about, inshallah, it will aid that you know the definitions already. An example of a غير عاقل noun, إخوان, this and أخوات, sister, brothers and sisters, غير negates the noun after it. Yeah? It's like it has the meaning of non, yeah, or in, or un, yeah. So inanimate, unrestricted, yeah. Those prefix in, un, and non, for example. That's what غير does. غير, it negates the noun after it. So عاقل, yeah, that which has intellectual animate. غير عاقل, inanimate. Okay, that's what غير does. Okay. That's all you need to know for غير. So an example of an inanimate noun, babun, a door. Babun, a door. So a noun can be animate and inanimate, or عاقل وغير عاقل. Okay. Any questions regarding that? طيب. نستمر. We'll continue then. Another way a noun can be categorized is by number. It is by number. A noun can be categorized according to number. According to number. So a noun can be, in English, singular or plural. In English, a noun can be singular, for example, a pen. And it can be plural, pens. Yeah? Pens. So there are two, a number can be categorized into two in English, in terms of number. Yeah? So a noun can be categorized into two categories according to number, and this is in English. Singular and plural. Meaning, singular means one. So pen as in one pen. And plural meaning 2 plus. Very important that you understand this. In English, 2 plus. But here's the difference now between English, اللغة الإنجليزية واللغة العربية. The difference is that an ism, a noun in Arabic, according to number, it can be categorized into 3 categories. Number 1, mufradun. Mufradun. Singular. Mufrad coming from fard. An individual. A fard, an individual. Yeah? A fard is come. Like for example, if you go to a mat'am, a restaurant, they say come fardan antum. Yeah? How many individuals are you? Yeah? An individual, fard. Okay? And the definition of tawheed comes also from this fard or ifrad, afrada, yufridu. Ifradullah bil ibadah. Yeah? To single out Allah in worship. To worship, to put all forms of worship belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only. So you do all forms of worship for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only. Him subhanahu wa ta'ala only. Yeah? So, mufrad, singular. For example, so mufrad, singular, meaning one. An example of this going down on that same sheet that you have in front of you. As in, baytun, a house. Right? An example of a mufrad ism, a noun which is singular. For example, baytun, a house, as in one house. And here's the difference. In the second category, we have the muthanna. And this is not a ya you see in front of you. This muthanna on your sheets in front of you. The last letter is not a ya. They call it an alif maqsoora. They call it an alif maqsoora. Yeah? Basically a ya without dots. But it's not it's an alif. Okay? Like in the name Musa and Isa. They end with this alif maqsoora, which looks like a ya, has no dots, but it's actually an alif. Okay? A type of alif. So, muthanna. Muthanna means dual. So a noun can be muthanna, dual. It can be 2. We have specific forms to show that this noun is of 2. Yeah? For example, if we look at bayt. Bayt is a house. one house. To make it into the muthanna, the Jew, we add ani at the end, an alif and noon at the end. For example, baytani, two houses. Two houses. As you can see, in Arabic, baytani means two houses. But in English, we need to add the word two before houses to show that it's two. Because in English, we don't have the jewel. Now, so in Arabic, it shows the strength and the quwwah of the language. The strength of the language. Why? Because we can be very specific in the least amount of words. A few amount of words. So, baytani, two houses. Okay? The jewel. Okay? So in Arabic, we have the jewel, the muthanna, whereas in English we do not. The third category, where a noun can be categorized. Now.
For this noon with kasra.
Yes.
For every letter is definitely you need this to make two.
Yes, so every jewel will end with a noon or the kasra underneath. Every jewel. Except there are some exemptions. There are some exemptions. So let's not talk about exemptions. Yeah, generally speaking. Yeah, generally speaking. There are some exemptions. So, but generally speaking, you will see it end with ani and another grammatical aini. But we're not going to talk about that now. But let's talk about generally, according to what you know now and what I'm saying today. A jewel ends with ani, and there will be some exemptions. Okay, so baytani. The third category, we're talking about a noun can be categorized in accordance to number. The third category is the jam'a, the jam'un, the plural. Jam', it sounds like something which in relation to today. Jam'. What do you do today? Jum'ah. You congregated in the Salat al-Jum'ah and you prayed it in Jama'ah. Yeah? You prayed Jum'ah in, or Jumu'ah in Jama'ah. Yeah? On Yawm al-Jum'ah. On the day of, on Friday. So it comes from the verb Jama'a, to gather. It comes from the verb to gather. Jama'a. Comes from the verb Jama'a, to gather. And that's when you gather some objects together, three or more, it becomes a jam'a. It becomes a jam'a, a plural. So we have bayt, one house. Baytani, two houses. Buyutun, houses. That's because we've gathered three houses together or more to make the jam'a, the plural. So in English, the plural is 2 plus. Whereas in al-lughat al-Arabiya, the jam'a, the plural is 3 plus. Okay? 3 plus. Why? Because we can be very specific with the muthanna, with the jewel. So, baytun, baytani, buyut. One house, two houses, houses, 3 plus. Na'am.
Singular, is that meant to be a fatha or something?
Oh, it's going to be a fatha, yes. So can you correct the sheets? It says on the sheet, it says beetun. It should be baytun. There's a typo. It shouldn't be beetun, it should be baytun. Please correct. Take away the kasratun underneath the ba and place a fatha on top of the ba. Okay. Now, so we have gone through different ways a noun can be categorized. It can be categorized in accordance to the article. So it can be definite or indefinite. Baytun, a house. Al-baytu, the house. And we have given you signs to identify that. And we've given you also the explanation of what is an article in English. So, the house and a house. Now, then we moved on and we also talked about a noun can be categorized in accordance to gender. It can be mudhakkar, masculine, and that's generally a noun not ending with ta marbuta. Or it can be muannath, it can be feminine, and that is a noun ending with ta marbuta, generally speaking. Then we moved on also, a noun can be categorized in accordance to animacy. Yeah? Meaning, is it animate or inanimate? So, aqil, an animate noun, is of three categories. The mankind, al-insan, malaika, angels, and the jinn, the spirits. Everything other than those three categories are ghayru aqil, are inanimate. And examples of an animate noun, tabibun, a doctor. An example of an inanimate noun, babun, a door. Now, also we looked at a noun and it can be categorized in accordance to number. So this noun can be categorized into three. It could be singular, mufrad, for example, baytun, one house. It could be muthanna, dual. For example, baytani, two houses. Or it could be the jam', the plural, which is three or more houses. For example, buyutun, three or more houses. So those are the different categories a noun, or different ways a noun can be categorized. Now we'll finish off this lesson by talking about the first lesson, the first page, book 1, the first page of book 1. And that is, if everyone can turn to the first page of book 1, and at the top it says Ad-Darsul Awwalu. Ad-Darsu Al-Awwalu. Everyone should have a sheet in front of them. And online the sheets have been sent via pictures as you are following. So the sheet that you should have in front of you, you should have Ad-Darsul Awwalu. You should have a lesson, the first. You should have that sheet in front of you. So let's look at the title. And I know many of you don't go through the title if you've learned book 1 before, but we do go through everything in detail but nice and slowly. And we will repeat. Looking at the title, Ad-Darsul Awwalu. If it's on a page, then you need to know what it is. Very simple. You never, as a student, a talib, a taliba, a student of knowledge, a person seeking knowledge, they want to know everything. They want to learn everything. Especially when it comes to the Arabic language. Because the more you learn, the better the grasp and understanding you have of the Quran and the Sunnah. So you want to know everything on the page. There shouldn't be anything on the page that you do not know. So, Ad-Darsul Awwalu, the first lesson. So, let's take away and break that up. First of all, Darsun. If we take the alif and lam away from Ad-Darsu, then we have the word Darsun. So that should go in your personal dictionary now. Darsun means a lesson. A dars, a lesson. So you are now in a dars. You are now in a dars. Why? Because in this dars, the verb darasa is happening. So here's the root word. Darasa. Yeah? He literally means he studies. But it's the verb to mean to study. The verb darasa means to study. So that should go in your personal dictionary. And those who are using the personal dictionary format, which has the root word column, you put darasa yadrusu in there. Darasa yadrusu. He studied, he studies. Okay? So, dars means lesson. Darsun, a lesson. Okay, na'am. Why have I translated darsun to mean a lesson? A lesson. So you have some little bit of background knowledge now. Why did we say a lesson and not the lesson? نعم أخي الكريم.
Because it's nakira.
Because it's nakiratun. Perfect answer. That's all you need to say. Because darsun is nakiratun. Indefinite. How do we know that darsun is indefinite? It's because you do not see al prefixed and you see the presence of a tanween, of the two dhammas. Yeah? The dhammatani, the tanween. Darsun. Again, I'm not expecting everyone to have this all now, but as you go home and you revise, and you will see, inshallah, as we go on every lesson, you will see that the revision will aid you and you'll be able to memorize and identify those signs. Okay, so, but in the title it doesn't say darsun. It says, and we're going to the second line here on the sheet, it says ad-darsu, the lesson. And that is al plus darsun. And as you're aware, if we add al to the darsun, then one of them, the al or the tanween, one of them is going to win the battle. Yeah? But generally speaking, you put the al on, the tanween's gone. So it'll become ad-darsu. We'll talk about why we say ad-darsu, with the da sound, ad-darsu, and not al-darsu soon. Yeah? Those who know, it's related to the sun and moon letters. We'll come to that inshallah. So, ad-darsu means the lesson. And why does it mean the lesson? Because then this noun is ma'rifatun. It's definite. How do we know? Presence of al, no tanween. Ad-darsu. Moving on to the second word in the title, al-awwalu. Let's separate that, take away the al away from it. Awwalun, a new word for your dictionary. Awwal means first. Awwal means first. And in the English language, we don't say a first. Well, I mean, you can say when according to a degree and what have you. We're just going to translate it as first. Yeah? So, awwalun means first. Now, if we add the alif lam, it's not as simple. You know, this is now a writing rule here. So when you add an alif lam before an alif, with hands on it, it's not as simple as this. Where you just attach the al before the hamza. There's a way in which a alif is written with a lam. Yeah? And in this case it's written like that. The sisters in the other room, is written as it is on the sheet you see. Al-awwalu written as you see on the sheet, and not as the first word which you find on Twitter later on. Okay, not as al-awwalu like this, which I've put in a cloud bubble. No, it's written like this, which I've double underlined. And you'll find that on Twitter. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. You'll find that on Twitter as a picture, inshallah. So, al-awwalu, al plus awwal, yeah, or should be al plus awwalun, yeah, equals al-awwalu, the first. So the title therefore means the lesson, the first. But as you're aware in English, there's no need for you to repeat the article the. One is sufficient, so the first lesson. Okay? Just as a side note for the future, as you can see in English, we say the first lesson and not the lesson first. Okay? So in English, just as a note, the adjective comes first. Yeah? The first lesson. And the noun it's describing comes second. Whereas in Arabic, and we'll come to that as lesson 5, 6 comes on. In Arabic, the adjective comes after the noun it's describing. Just as a side note. So what is awwal doing? It's describing the lesson. So the lesson. What about the lesson? Describe it for me. It's al-awwal, it's the first. There's the adjective. The first lesson. Okay? So in Arabic, the adjective comes second, whereas in English, the adjective comes first. And we'll go into that in more detail as we come to a whole lesson on that. On the na'at and the man'ut. Okay? So, moving on to hada. Now, as you can see, the title of this first lesson, ad-dars al-awwal, and we'll finish with this, is hada, this. So, hada, number one, before we go into this little spider diagram, hada means this in English. This. So, as you can see, we have a spider diagram, each labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? We'll start with that big one, number 1. Hada. Hada can be split into two. It means, actually, I would like to spend more time on this, so I wouldn't want to rush this. So, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, we'll end there. We'll end on the hada. Hada meaning this. Okay? And we'll talk about this spider diagram next lesson. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. I did say that there will be a test. Unfortunately, I came late from West London. I was in Masjid Sunnah. So, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, I'll be here earlier on. So, we'll do a test on these sheets that we've just done. Okay? So, I'll give you some questions. Those who come early can just answer those questions before we start the lesson. And I'll mark it and give it back to you. Barakallahu feekum. And again, the most important thing is muraja'a, is this revision. Revise, positivity. There's 5 sheets for 7 days. You've got 7 days to revise over that, 5-6 sheets. It's not a lot. Go through it. Teach people. Teach your sons. The best way of knowing that you know something is by teaching it. If you're able to teach it and the person you've taught it to has understood also. Na'am. Barakallahu feekum.